Hello everyone, it's your friend, your boy, Jet Black the One Only, here with another exciting live stream. Today is July 31st, 2019, and today I'm going to talk about my day. Today I'm mainly hung out at the house. I practiced a little bit of Golang, which is the Google programming language that I'm now learning for work. I also hung out with my dad a little bit. Dad worked from home as well, which I will say was a little distracting, but at least we got to get some good talks in. Also, I finally have a laptop bag, so I don't have to use my niece's laptop bag when I go to presentations. Speaking of which, I have a presentation this Friday. Wish me luck. I'm going to be presenting the weather app that I recently finished up, so that'll be cool. Let's see. Other than that, I've been messaging with Beth. So Beth, ever since she saw this little figurine of this character called Tigra, she's a Marvel Comics character who's a biologist who finds an amulet that allows her to transform into a half person, half tiger character. Ever since we found a little figurine of that at Lucky Dice Cafe, we Googled the character, and Beth's like, "Ooh, Tigra! Ooh!" Like she's just like really hype about the character. And she actually has now read half of the Tigra miniseries. I sent her a link to a website where she can read it, and she's been vibing with it so far. Tonight, instead of doing a text and watch date, where we would normally watch an episode of like a TV show while messaging each other, we're gonna do a text and read date where we'll both read the remaining half of the Tigra miniseries, which is only like 4 issues. So we'll both read that, and then we'll message with each other about our thoughts on the series so far. I actually have liked the text and read stuff a lot more than the text and watch stuff, if I'm going to be honest. I feel like during the text and watch dates, um, a lot of times we'll watch the show and we might comment on a few things, but I feel like because of how engaged a show is, or how engaging a show is, we just don't message as much. But I feel like with the text and read, it's a lot easier to go into detail about how you feel about specific scenes and to bring up a discussion and talk about different points. And I feel like with Tigra, we've been able to have some actually pretty interesting conversations talking about different elements of the Tigra story with each other. And I think that's cool. I do want to hear more of her thoughts on stuff. I do feel like sometimes it's a little imbalanced in the discussion about like the different concepts, but I'm glad that she's vibing with a comics character, and that she's trying to get into that kind of thing, and she's finding something that she enjoys about comics. Yo, Dragon Ball super fan, and yo, Shuri-chan, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you both. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? And don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. I was just talking about the text and read date that I'm going to have with my girlfriend tonight. Also, thank you, much love. I noticed that we have 3 viewers and 2 likes. Can we get this video to 3 viewers and 3 likes? Truly appreciate it. Yo, Kels, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? And don't forget to smash that like button. Dragon Ball Superfan said, "Sup, Jet." Yo, sup, Dragon Ball Superfan. Welcome. It's good to have you. Shuri-chan said, "Konnichiwa, my boy." Yo, Shuri-chan, welcome to the stream. Great to have you as well. Kel said, "Hey, hey, hey. I'm about to post a new character on the Amino." Hey, Kels, welcome, welcome. Good to have you. How's your day today? How's everybody's day today? Shuri-chan said, "Is the OC battle daily or something?" So when it comes to who would win OC battle, the way that it works is that you guys can at any time bring up your OC, post something on the Amino, post something in the comment section, post something in the live chat, and we can discuss who would win in a fight between 2 different original characters. So, ba 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 ba. I'm hyped for that. Shuri Chan said, "I just posted mine yesterday." Ooh, and I'll definitely have to check that out. Also, I'm not sure how many of you guys are into rap, but I've been listening to Rich Brian's new album, Sailor. I'm not super hyped for all the songs on his album, but I think Pop 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 and Kids are 2 pretty good songs on his album. If you happen to like rap, I would recommend checking out Rich Brian. Let's see. Kel said, "Also, can you read part 3.5 and 4 of my power system?" I say because 3.5 is really short. I guess it really depends on the length of 3.5 as well as what else is currently going on. Then Shuri-chan said plays Dragon Ball Super music in the fight. First, I'm gonna check out Shuri's brand new original character and see if Shuri's has that solid 3 sentence description set up for powers. Because that is one of the things for OC Battle, to have a little section that's just 3 sentences that describes a character's powers and weaknesses. So I'd really appreciate that. If you haven't already done that, I definitely would add that to any characters that you make to make Who Would Win OC battles move a little smoother. Like I said, just a 3 sentence description of your character's powers and weaknesses. So Shuri-chan's new character is Shi Yuri. Wait, Shi Yuryu. No, Shi Yuryu. It's not Ryu, I don't think. Rui? Shi Yurui Bakonoi. Shi Yuri. Whoa. Shi Yuru. Shi Yurui Bakonui. Is it Shiri Yui? Oh my gosh. Is it Shi Yurui Bakonui? Bakuno. It's Bakunoi. Fuck me. Shi Yu. Shi Yurui Bakonui. No E. Fuck me. Shi Yurui Bakonoi. I'm not gonna say that every time. She. I'm gonna say she. Let's see. So then Shuri-chan said, sorry, it's gotcha life, but please accept, please. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the artwork that you submitted. Then Shuri-chan said, Super Godo Ray is like a Kamehameha, but thinner. Ki Busto can increase strength, speed, senses, and endurance in 3 levels. Super does 30, Extreme does 60, and Ultra does 1000. Heart Race is used when Shurui feels frightened and her heart beats fast enough to slow down or freeze time for a few seconds. Her weakness is being damaged at the tail, but it doesn't hurt unless so much damage happened earlier. Another weakness is using Ki Boost too long or tries making it stronger will hurt for a minute. Shurui is a pure-hearted being that always never give up in a fight and tries her best to give the opponent a chance of changing, but she will kill if necessary or if she has no choice. Now, Shuri-chan, I would highly recommend taking what you have here and summarizing it into 3 sentences. And that way it'll be easier for you to use it in a Who Would Win OC battle. So it's fine to write as much as you want about a character, but for the sake of the battles, we'll only be referring to 3 core sentences that describe your character's powers and weaknesses. And that's not 3 sentences each, that's 3 sentences total. Okay. Then Shuri-chan said, Shuri. Shuri. Shurui. Baken no ni. Then Beth said, Meep. Then Shuri-chan said, you got the last name correct. Okay. Then Matt said, hiding your power system behind access to Amino. Shame, shame. Then Matt said, no. Yo, Matt, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. And Beth, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Doing discussion topics you know they talk about on the stream. Matt said, no. I noticed that we have 5 viewers and 2 likes. Can we get this video up to 5 viewers and 5 likes? Truly appreciate it. Ryan said, hi. Then Ryan said, Michelle asked about Tao. You mean like Taoism? Also, Ryan, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics that they talk about on the stream? Then Matt said, like, General Tao, and then he corrected it to Mercenary Tao. And then Matt said, like, 2 pi. Oh, so Tao is in, like, a math thing. I'm not really a math guy. Then Shuri-chan said 3 sentences in total of power. 3 sentences in total for your characters' power and weaknesses. So you can describe all your characters' powers and weaknesses in 3 sentences. I actually have a video on the channel where I discuss Superman's powers and weaknesses in only 2 sentences to show that even if you have a lot of powers, you can still easily summarize them into 3 sentences. If I can do Superman in 2 sentences, I think you guys can do your original characters in 3 sentences. Let's see. Ryan said, so I was right. It was Tao. Was Michelle saying it's like Teo or something along those lines for the pronunciation? Or pronunciation, however you want to say it. Matt said, did you say dislike? Mm-mm-mm. Then Shuri-chan said, and weakness in those 3 sentences? He said, this is going to be hard. I feel like it's easier than you might think. Then Beth said, math is scary and traumatic. Ooh. Matt said, just stop hating mildly regular descriptions. And then Matt said, Superman's powers in 2 sentences was dumb, mainly because it was just a grocery list. But if you want to, you can do it concise, and I still know what the character does, and I still know the character's limits. You know what I mean? Because Superman has a good few powers and a good few weaknesses, and I was able to get the majority of those powers and weaknesses in 2 sentences. I feel like if we can do it for Superman, we can do it for anybody. Woo. Let's see. Matt said, Jet, Michelle wants to know your opinion on the shortest poem. Is the shortest poem like a single word, or are you talking about one of those like 6-word story things? And sure, I'd like to talk about that. That sounds like a cool topic. Dragon Ball Superfan 10 said, did you see the video game trailer about One Punch Man? I did see the video game trailer for One Punch Man. I personally am not excited for it. I kind of want to see more gameplay. It looks like another Jump Force style game, but the graphics are trying to look more like the One Punch Man anime, which I get, but it still looks kind of dull and bland from what I've seen. Um, it kind of reminds me of My Hero's One Justice, which I liked that game for its combo system, but I didn't actually like playing the game. I just liked coming up with combos for the game. So I am probably not going to get the new One Punch Man game. That's my opinion on that. Dragon Ball Superfan said, how was your day? My day's been pretty solid, thank you for asking. I feel like the highlight of my day so far might have been my discussions with Beth about Tigra or Tigra. I don't know how people like to pronounce that character's name. But Beth has shown an interest in comics, and we're currently reading a comic series together, the Tigra or Tigra miniseries, however you want to call it. And we're going to finish off that miniseries tonight as a text and read date, so I think that'll be fun. Matt said, define flight as a superpower. What? So you don't necessarily have to define your power beyond just the message itself. I mean, like, just like the word itself. You know what I mean? People know what flight means. It doesn't have to be like a super. You don't have to go into great depth of what flight is, especially if your character has like a weakness related. Because flight in itself is already a word that has a definition. You know what I mean? You don't have to define out what flight is further. Let's see. Kel said, I just posted the new character on Amino, and I kept his power to 3 sentences, and his weakness to 1 sentence. So, wait. So is that 4 sentences total? You kind of threw me the way that you broke up that sentence. Because the powers and weaknesses should be 3 sentences total. Matt said the issue is that broad terms for powers don't equate to how good or bad that power is. Well, that's why the weaknesses are also included. So if you define your powers in like your first 2 sentences or in your first sentence, you can then define your weaknesses in the next 2 sentences or your last sentence. And your weaknesses will help define how good or bad your character is, which really has to do with the matchup that you're put in. Also, I noticed that we got 6 viewers and 2 likes. Can we get this video to 6 viewers and 6 likes? Truly appreciate it. Definitely love doing these combos with you guys. Matt said, Kells, no. Jet will be like, now get both down to 3 sentences total. It's 3 sentences total as in powers and weaknesses. They together only get 3 sentences. You know what I mean? You only get 3 sentences max to describe both the character's powers and weaknesses. Kells retracted a message. Beth said, love you. Love you too, Beth. Then Ryan said, I saw the new episode of Young Justice. I haven't. Google likes to send me like news alerts, and I think I saw a Google news alert that was like a spoiler for the latest episode of Young Justice. I definitely need to watch it. I'm not only behind on Young Justice, but I also have like multiple new comics to read because it's New Comic Wednesday. Currently in Fantastic Four, the Thing is fighting the Incredible Hulk, but the Thing is going to turn back into a normal human in like an hour. And the Incredible Hulk is being mind controlled by a supervillain who's trying to kill the Thing. Also, the Thing is on vacation with his blind wife. So he's like, I gotta like protect my wife who can't see, and I gotta fight the Hulk, who in current continuity the Hulk can't die. He's like, I gotta fight the Hulk who can't die, and um, the, and if I don't beat him in 1 hour, I'm gonna turn into a normal nigga, and the Hulk's just gonna obliterate me. And I'm like, who decided to write this story? This is the stakes are insane. Let's see. Ryan said he saw episode 1 of Infinity Train. I think I might have seen like the original pilot for Infinity Train, but I haven't seen the first episode yet. Someone else actually popped into the live chat at some point and was talking about Infinity Train and how good it was. So I guess I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Infinity Train, and does it live up to the hype? Kel said, Matt, I made an OC battle discussion Discord server for those who want to use what is, in my opinion, a better website slash app for OC battle discussions. Then Ryan said, love you, Jet. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that love. Sending that love back to you as well. About to spirit bomb in your love. About to kamehameha right back to the viewers. Thank you kindly. Ba 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 ba. Matt said, great, and Jet's bad opinions won't make their way to the Discord because he won't use it. You're right, I will not touch the Discord with a 10.5 foot pole. Let's see, Kel said, the power is in 3 sentences and the weakness is in 1 sentence. I thought they were in different categories. The powers and weaknesses together, I would like to be in 3 sentences total. Like the 3 sentences would describe the character's powers and weaknesses. Just 3 sentences for both total. You describe both in 3 sentences. That is what I'm getting at. A good example of seeing a character's powers and weaknesses described in 3 sentences, would be to look at Beth's superhero OC characters that I posted on Amino. Beth described her character's powers and weaknesses in 3 sentences. It can definitely be done. It's not like an impossible task. I believe in you guys. I know you can do it. Let's see. Then Beth said, what is the name of the villain mind controlling the Hulk? Oh, I didn't even think about that. Beth loves mind control characters. I feel like I should have mentioned this to you earlier that I saw the Fantastic Four thing. I think you would have liked that. By the way, the cover for the latest issue of Fantastic Four is pretty ass. I love Alex Ross. Alex Ross is a great comic book artist. He does photorealistic art that makes them look like they're real characters. And every Alex Ross piece I see is like, but I don't know if Alex Ross did this Fantastic Four cover or not, because it's definitely photorealistic, but it is ugly. I don't know what made it so bad, but I was not feeling that cover. The rest of the book isn't like that, but that cover was. I don't know if it's the Thing in the artwork or it's the way that the Thing and the Hulk look, but it was just kind of nasty. Also, I believe the villain from the latest Fantastic Four issue that was mind controlling the Hulk is called the Puppeteer. I'll send you a link to the Marvel fandom Wikia page of the Puppeteer. But I need to make sure that I pick the right Puppeteer because there are like multiple Puppeteers, I think. Or maybe it's the Puppet Master. Uh, Fuck me, I actually don't know. It might be the Puppet Master. I have to actually double check. Do 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 do. Marvel has multiple puppet named characters. Ba 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 ba. So guys, give me one moment while I try to make sure that I've looked up the correct character. Yeah, it's not the Puppeteer. It's Puppet Master. I'm pretty sure, because his yeah, he's a Fantastic Four villain. This fits, and he, I'm pretty sure, is related to the Thing's wife. So here's Puppet Master's Wikia page, so you can check him out. Uh, do 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 do. And I'm posting that in the live chat for anyone who's interested. Ryan said the Hulk is too mad to die. So the Hulk now is in a weird situation where during the day he's just Bruce Banner, but then he says the nighttime is the Hulk's time, and at night he turns into the Hulk. And when he's the Hulk, he can be dismembered. He's had his heart ripped out and eaten and shit like that, and he just always comes back to life. He can move around and talk and shit, even when he's like a severed head. You know, he can do crazy stuff. He was once cut into pieces and put in jars, and I think he snaps his fingers while in one of the jars. Like his hand is in a jar by itself, and it snaps, and the shockwave breaks all the other jars, and then his body parts like mesh back together. It's fucking crazy. Um, but Hulk seems to be kind of like a vampire now, but not in the same way. So vampires are hurt by sunlight, but now the Hulk, when he's in direct sunlight, gets weaker, and he also gets weaker from artificial sunlight. And the more sunlight he's exposed to, the weaker he becomes until he's just Bruce Banner. So it's pretty weird. Let's see. Matt said powers can vary vastly with a single classification. Flight could be a supersonic flight, or like the speed of a pigeon. And if powers don't have the same source, then it becomes even worse. Well, you could always just say flight when listing your powers in the first sentence, and then when listing your weaknesses, one of the weaknesses, which can also be a list, could be can fly at maximum at supersonic speeds. You know what I mean? You can set speed limits. Cannot fly faster than 500 miles per hour. You can, in your weaknesses, again, just list it off and just be pretty Gucci. Matt said Superman is easy to fit his weaknesses into one sentence since all of it is a rock and not being in our sun. That's not true. Superman is weak against magic. He has to be under a yellow or blue sun to have his powers. He is weak against rocks that come from, well, pieces of his home planet he's weak against, and they weaken him in different ways. Um, if he's facing off against a strong enough opponent, like someone of a comparable strength to his own, then his healing factor is essentially nullified. If he uses his solar flare ability, where he releases all the energy out of his body, then it weakens the effectiveness of his powers to the point of if he overuses it, he just loses his powers for a day. Stuff like that. Um, but for these Who Would Win OC battles, you don't have to go too in depth. You know what I mean? We just need enough to be able to discuss them for a fight. Let's see. Kel said, "Can you still check out the OC? Because I don't think 4 sentences is too crazy. I'll still check it out, but I'm still going to ask you to potentially shrink it into 3 sentences. I might even be able to help you shrink it into 3 sentences. I believe in you. I believe in you. We can do this. We can get there." Kel's new character is Matt Zero. And Matt Zero is 5'9", age 20. His card is clubs, which has to do with Kel's poker game system. He's a member of the team, the Victory Eagles, and he plays a sport that's called a Battle Royale thingy. So his ability, Matt Zero has the ability to telekinetically control a large greatsword within a range of 40 feet and can move it at the speed of sound. And then it says in parenthesis, at top speed. He also uses the technique known as Spark Shield, where he puts a layer of energy above his skin and gives it an electrical property. This makes it so if an enemy attacks him while he's defenseless, they'll get shocked. Weakness. Though he has his spark shield to protect him from attacks, with enough force, speed, and if the sword is far enough away, you can overpower the spark shield and attack him before he can send the sword attack before he can send the sword to attack you. Okay, so I'm gonna try and help you condense this to 3 sentences total. Uh, so I think your first sentence is fine. It could potentially be shorter, but I'm gonna actually like open up like a little empty tab, and I'm gonna like copy what you have, and then I'm going to try and edit it down. So the formatting on this tab is gross because it's trying to copy the formatting of Amino. So I would probably start your first sentence off with Mat Zero's powers include telekinetic greatsword manipulation and electric barrier generation. And then I would probably then say Mat Zero's weaknesses are, and then I would say he can my phone is like in the way of the tab I have. So I gotta move the tab. Here we go. Now I can actually write shit down. So let's see. He can only his sword can move at a his sword can only move as fast as the speed of sound, and his electric barrier can be destroyed by an opponent with by a fast and strong opponent. It's weird to phrase that last sentence. Oh, I think I have a better way to phrase that. Shit. Destroyed by a superhumanly an opponent who is by a superhuman by an opponent with superhuman speed and strength. Okay. So that comes out to 2 sentences. If you do it like that, I'll post that as a comment. What are your thoughts on that, Kels? So I posted that as a comment on your post rather than posting it in the live chat. It was 67 characters larger than what I could fit in the live chat. But in the live chat, I can post the powers and weaknesses sentences individually, because individually they're not that big. Also, I think I accidentally call him Mar Zero the second time, even though it's Mat Zero. Or Mat Zero. I don't really know how you're supposed to pronounce his name. But what are your thoughts on that? Let's see. Matt said, but if a character doesn't directly have weaknesses, or more specifically, the weaknesses are directly tied to the potency of the powers, then you need more space to describe this. I don't really think that's true. In the same way that Kells was like, a limitation of his greatsword is that it can at most move at the speed of sound, that has to do with the potency of his powers, but you can still define it as a weakness and simply list it as a weakness. It's not too crazy. You know what I mean? Then Shuri-chan said, Spirit Bomb the like button. Thank you kindly, Shuri-chan. Truly appreciate it. I don't know why I need the table, but I definitely did. Beth said, thanks. No problem. Always down to send those Puppet Master Wikia links. I noticed that on Facebook Messenger that you said Puppet Master's face looks creepy. He does indeed look like a creepy guy. Matt said, also, three sentences for powers and weaknesses is only so interesting from a battle perspective, as we then can't have death battle-esque analysis of the combatants. You'd be surprised how in-depth you can discuss three sentences, my boy. True facts. Let's see. Kel said, I'm trying to post the Discord link, but it keeps getting deleted. Um, hmm. There's a way around that. I've seen people get around that before. And by the way, that's YouTube being like, no, 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 like preventing you from posting in the Discord. I think if you drop some of the things that make it look like a website and then go, yeah, just add this at the beginning and it works, and like add this at the end and it works, then that may be able to help. Just an idea. Like maybe if you drop the dots from it, YouTube won't recognize that it's a website or something. There's something like that. Ryan said, Jit, can you do the eyeball vibrate secret move? Secret move! I mean, I have no idea. That seems like something, that seems very anime. Matt said, all the things you just listed for Superman's weaknesses would be more than one sentence. That's not true. Check out the fucking video where I describe Superman's weaknesses in one sentence. It's just a list, Matt. I like legitimately already did that. Then Matt said, what if we want depth? But you can still get depth from something that is short. Then Matt said, Jet, stop having bad writing habits. Bad writing habits? What do you mean? Please elaborate. Matt said, why am I an OC? He named his character Matt Zyro or Mott Zero. I don't really know how to pronounce it. Then Shuri-chan said, silence is real. Silence is a real thing that exists. Matt said, let's put it this way. Would you be satisfied if someone used your three-sentence Superman as a representative of Superman? If the rules for how the fight was conducted is that their powers and weaknesses must be summarized into three sentences, then yeah. It's similar to how, you know how Death Battle does composite characters, where they're like, if Superman's gonna be in a fight, we can use feats from any version of Superman that exists, and it's not as satisfying to certain fans who would prefer to just see one Superman be represented, especially when Superman's fighting against someone who doesn't have as extensive of a lore, and it would just be more balanced if you pick one Superman continuity and you stuck by that as a rule. I'm trying to implement a similar thing where if you just have three sentences to work with, it's easier to discuss these battles because you don't have to dive in and read a ton of stuff from the other person. Just based off of those three sentences alone, you can have an interesting discussion of how the fight would progress. Let's see. Kel says, in response to the description of Matt Zero's powers and weaknesses, he said, it's okay, but I think I can make it sound more natural. Ballin', and that's totally fine. But do you see how it can be described in three sentences without it being like a stretch or losing depth? Because I feel like the two-sentence breakdown I did of Matt Zero's or Matt Zyro's powers and weaknesses do describe the same things that Kel's described. But it gets rid of unnecessary details that wouldn't necessarily matter in a who would win OC battle. You know what I mean? So let's see. Matt said, natural language is reserved for 4 or more sentences. I don't really think that the list is like too crazy. Matt Zero's powers include telekinetic greatsword manipulation and electric barrier generation. Matt Zero's weaknesses are his sword can only move as fast as the speed of sound, and his electric barrier can be destroyed by an opponent with superhuman speed and strength. Dun, 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 dun. You know, like it defines the things that need to be defined. Shuri-chan said I redid my OC. Okay, I'll move over to Shuri-chan's redone OC, and we can check that out. So Shuri-chan has a video that has the pronunciation of the character's name. Okay, I'm turning it up.
Shinari Bekanoni.
Shurini Bekanoni. Okay, sure. One more time.
Shinari Bekanoni.
Shunari Bekanoni. Okay. So powers are Supreme God Ray, Ki Bosto, and Heart Race. I kind of like what you did with it. I'm not as big of a fan of, because I feel like part of what gets lost in the sauce is people like to give the powers like specific names, but they're names that they then have to define, which then makes it kind of weird. Um, One thing that I would do for this particular setup for the powers are, instead of going Soupy God Ray in parenthesis Kamehameha but thinner, you could be like, her powers are energy beam projection, the ability to increase herself to superhuman levels in all ways, and the ability to slow down time when having an adrenaline rush. And I feel like that all works really well, instead of having to do the defined terms parentheses thing. And then that's just one sentence. Then for the weakness, you put getting grabbed by the tail if damaged too much, and using kibosto for too long to make it stronger than it has to be. Both of these cause pain and weaken her a lot, but not for long. Um, Getting grabbed by the tail, I would probably edit that just a little bit. Like, weakness is getting grabbed by the tail when, well, it's interesting because the weakness isn't getting grabbed by the tail in general. It's getting grabbed by the tail when already weak, um, and increasing her physical abilities too much, which I can understand that. You know what I mean? But hmm, I don't know. Let's see. Then Matt said, "That is terrible. How could you, as someone who likes the characters for their various interesting powers, be okay with that?" Be okay with what? Uh, I feel like that question is vague. What is the thing that I'm not okay with that is terrible? Then Matt said, "Jet, you are the only person who doesn't want to get bogged down by more length." I feel like the discussions in themselves will just be easier with this rule. I don't think it's like a crazy rule. I feel like it makes sense. It's not hard to do. Then Matt said, "We have all stated interest in with these unnecessary details," which is why I'm like, with like a blog post, you can say whatever you want about the character and like add and flesh out stuff. You know what I mean? But for the sake of the battles, I feel like it's just easier to have the three sentences in more of, and it's weird because you guys are like, the three sentences don't feel natural, but I'm like, in more of a natural language. I think what doesn't feel natural is when you have like names for specific things, because then you're like, my character uses konunaruri, and it's like, what is that? And then you have to like look on the page and see what it is, and then go like, oh, konunaruri is this, and it has all these extra things. It's like, or you could be like, super speed, but they can only move as fast as the speed of sound. And you're like, oh, well, I know what that is because that's just words, and it's not like a weird phrasing for, like, I understand the use of shorthand for that, but it's not like clearly defined. Whereas a lot of powers that are words are, like heat vision, cold breath. Like they're just using English words, and it's exactly what you think it is. But heart race being a thing where it's like when you're having an adrenaline rush, you can slow down the like rate of time. Then that I wouldn't necessarily know that from just hearing heart race. But if you just say what it is in the power description, then everyone can just immediately go, yeah, I know what that is. I can jump right on that. Let's see. And then Shuri Chan said, "Oh, that'll feel weird for me. Um, that'll feel weird for you being describing the powers as what they are, just directly, like defining them, rather than like giving them the names. I'm fine with the names. I feel like for the three sentence description, though, to simply define them out without using the names. But then for like the rest of the post, you can be like, and that power is this name and it is this other name. Like, I'm not saying like you can't be creative and you can't go into extra depth, but for the point of the battles, for the sake of like ease of the battles, I feel like it's just easier to do the three sentence thing, and it doesn't actually take away from your guy. Like, it doesn't actually make your OC worse in any way, Because a lot of the things that you guys are using are still things that you can list in the two sentences. You just don't have to. I just feel like there's extra stuff added that doesn't necessarily need to be put in there for us to understand it for a fight. Let's see. Matt said we like having names for our special moves, and like I said, you can still have those names. They just don't have to be in the three sentence descriptions. Matt said, but Jet, you thinking it's easier and we thinking it's easier are two very different things. Now, hold on, Matt. Are you somehow going to say that it is easier to have unrestricted rules on describing powers and weaknesses than it is to have three sentence descriptions of powers and weaknesses? Because I don't see how it is somehow easier to have unrestricted access. For one, you end up with this odd situation where someone just goes hard, they just write a whole bunch, and the other person's like, I just had three sentences. The issue will become that the person who wrote like a ton is kind of going to make the other person do a lot more work. If you just want to do a who would win OC battle, the rules are framed in a way to where you can easily just do that, even if you don't have like any additional level stuff to your guy. And the idea is to make it easier. Just to, it's something that like anybody could do if they wanted to in like no time. Let's see. Then Matt said easier equals oversimplification, which I don't think is true. I feel like the powers in the end they do the same things, so I don't see how it's an oversimplification. It's you're still doing the same thing. It's just easier and more concise to understand what your power does. You know what I mean? Let's see. Then Matt said, what's more, a single good power can easily dwarf most people in a three-sentence scenario. See Shadow Dark Gowns. When Matt's like, hey, self-flex, 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 complex. Let's see. Matt said, yes. Then Matt said, nobody has three sentences. You are the only one who writes three sentences. I feel like three sentences is easier for the sake of discussion. It just is. Because it's like, if we're basing our arguments on these three sentence descriptions, it'll just be easier to work through and break down, okay, so here's what the power does. Here's what it's like weak against. Here's what your power does. Here's what it's weak against. And then we can talk about it. And it's just an easy discussion. It's not, and I'm not even saying that like you can't elaborate on it in your blog posts, but for the sake of the fight, just have the three cent. You can like have your cake. You can have all the description and like the extra stuff that you want, and eat it too. Have the simplified version of it for the use of fights, so that you don't force someone else to have to read all of the stuff to understand what your character does. That's the main thing that I'm saying. Let's see. Then Matt said, we all care enough about our OCs to actually write a decent amount. But I'm saying not all of that is necessarily relevant to a battle, and that you can still write all of that, but not all of that has to be in that three sentence description. It's not required for the fight. Let's see. Then Shuri-chan said, I was going to make a video game channel, but don't know what video game... No, sorry. But don't know what video to do on a game. He said, I was thinking of doing a Sonic the Hedgehog challenge. Interesting. Would you like to go into more detail about the Sonic the Hedgehog challenge you were going to do? For what game and what challenge? Camel said, I think there should be a limit, but I think three sentences are too little for some characters. I think five sentences is good, but I know Jet isn't going to change his mind. I think five sentences isn't like the end of the world, but I still think three is more than sufficient. Two could pretty much get the job done, but three gives you that additional wiggle room to like go even deeper if you want to. You know what I mean? I just feel like you got a lot of potential there with the three sentences. I don't really think you need more than that. Matt said, Jet is far too stubborn to change his mind. Nobody's minds reading the extra stuff yet. I mean, I'm just saying, it's something where it's something that doesn't even have to be an issue. No one ever has to be like, man, his thing is just like 5 blog posts. You know what I mean? When you could just be like, oh, cool, it's like 3 sentences. So is mine. It just sets like a very simple and easy to understand standard. You know what I mean? Also, I personally would prefer not having to read a ton to understand what your character does, especially when a lot of it doesn't actually come into play. Like, if your character has, like, essentially powers that are pretty easy to understand, but you have a system based around how the powers work, your whatever limitations the system puts on your power can simply be listed in a sentence that goes over your character's weaknesses. You don't have to know, because I think a part of it is that if you write so much about your character and then I don't know what is or is not important to your character's power, it can become a weird situation where you're trying to look into like every little detail to try and figure out what's going on. And with the 3 sentences, it asks you to be more concise, which means that it'll probably be easier to understand exactly what a character's powers are and exactly what their weaknesses are pretty easily. Because it's condensed and it's tight. Let's see. Shiri Chen says Sonic the Hedgehog 2. How many levels can you beat without jumping? Oh, interesting. I think that'd be cool. I actually do like watching people do video game challenge videos. If you haven't seen this video already, I'd highly recommend you check out Super Mario Odyssey. No jumps. He doesn't jump the whole game. The jump counter is 0 at the end. There's also I think it's Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic and Knuckles. Uh, he never goes right. He plays the whole game. He never goes right. He never uses the stick to move right. In a game where the whole focus is to move to the right, he never does it. Uh, I think that one's pretty dope. Let's see. Then Matt said, "Yet, how long do you think this will go on for?" I think Who Would Win OC Battle is definitely like pretty solid. It's something that you guys are definitely showing interest in. Matt said, "If you kill interest now, then we would never get to that point in the first place." I don't think limiting it to 3 sentences is necessarily going to be like, oh man, because I guess I currently don't really understand where the complaints are coming from. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you can't write those things. I'm not saying you can't go into detail about it. But for the sake of the battle, have a short 3 sentence description, which will be the reference point for the fights. People who are interested in diving deeper into the character can dive deeper into the character and read the additional things that you wrote. But just for the fight, the 3 sentences. It's not that crazy. Let's see. Shuri Chen said, please don't fight over an OC description. It's not as much a fight. Matt has debates, and I kind of enjoy the debates with Matt, not going to lie. Let's see. So then Matt said, either you let OC battles decay into your predicted scenario about too much info, or nobody actually cares in the first place and doesn't participate. I don't think people don't care, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think 3 sentences is making people go, I'm less interested in this concept. I think it more or less, the way that you guys seem to be seeing it is, oh, my creativity is being restricted, which I don't think is the case. Like I said, you guys can write as much as you want, go ham, for the sake of the fight, 3 sentences. And it just makes it easier for people to understand, and you really don't need more than 3 sentences to describe a character's powers and weaknesses. It's not too crazy. Let's see. Then Matt said, because it took a while, just for us to get these four OCs. I don't really think it took that long. Keep in mind, the other night, Beth very quickly sent me 3 sentence descriptions for her superhero OCs that she had created, superhero and supervillain OCs, because it's not really that hard. It just actually isn't. Uh, Truly. Most superpower descriptions and a lot of things are just lists anyways. It's not that crazy at all. It's actually the common thing for it to be rather short to describe a power. Kel said I updated Matt Zero's blog post with a maximum of 3 sentences. Oh, ballin'! I'll check that out. Do 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 do. Hey. Do 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 do. Yo yo. Okay, so here's the new updated Matt Zero 3 sentence description. Matt Zero can telekinetically control a large greatsword within 40 feet and at maximum the speed of sound. What? Matt Zero can telekinetically control a large greatsword within 40 feet and at a maximum the speed of sound. I think you maybe wanted to say an at maximum. What? I see what you wrote, but I just feel like you're close to what you mean, but not exactly. Matt Zero can telekinetically control a large greatsword within 40 feet and at maximum. Maybe at the maximum speed of the speed of sound. It just sounds clunky. Also, I noticed that you like to pair the power and the weakness together in a sentence, and that you're not a big fan of listing the powers and listing the weaknesses. But I just feel like it makes it a little bit neater. Because right now, that's what you're trying to do. You're like sandwiching in for that first sentence instead of it going over just all the powers. It's like the power and the weaknesses. And I imagine the second sentence is going to do the same thing. He has an electric shield on his skin that shocks anyone who attacks him. Actually, no. The second sentence is actually pretty good. It's just the power, and it doesn't mention any of the weaknesses. And then your last sentence was the shield can be broken with enough force and speed. And though he himself isn't strong, he doesn't have any super. Wait. And though he is himself strong, he doesn't have any superhuman strength or durability. I feel like that could be phrased a little bit differently. I'm glad that it's like down to 3 sentences, um, but I feel like if you were like Matt Zero can telekinetically control a large great sword and has an electric shield on his skin that shocks anyone who attacks him, that could be like sentence number one. Sentence number two could then very easily be he can only control the great sword as long as it's within 40 feet of him, comma. His great sword can move at most. It's hard to do the speed limit sentence. His great sword can only move as fast as the speed of sound. That probably would be fine. And then the final part would be with enough, I want to say force, because when you're like speed and strength, that's kind of what that ends up being summarized to. So it could be like with enough force, you can destroy the electric barrier. And I mean, to put that he doesn't have a power is a weakness is kind of weird. Because you could say he doesn't have a whole bunch of powers. You know what I mean? You could be like, and he also doesn't have laser vision, and he also doesn't have. You know, you kind of don't have to say that he doesn't have a power. The fact that it isn't in the list shows that he doesn't have it. So if I were to rephrase it, not saying that you have to rephrase it, you have it at 3 sentences, and that's totally fine. I think the way that I would probably phrase it would be Matt Zero can telekinetically control a large great sword and has an electric shield on his skin that shocks anyone who attacks him. And then for the second sentence, I would say the shield can be broken with enough force and he can. Oh, wait, hold up. You need multiple commas. It's not just an and. So for the second sentence, the shield can be broken with enough force. He can only control his large greatsword within 40 feet of him, and his large greatsword can only move at the speed of sound. Or only his great sword, his large great sword can only move as fast as the speed of sound. So I think I got it. So Mat Zero can telekinetically manipulate a large great sword and has an electric barrier. Whoa. It's phrased as an electric shield on his skin who shocks anyone who attacks him. There you go. And has an electric shield on his skin who shocks anyone who attacks him. So that would be the first sentence. And then I think the second sentence would probably be his electric shield can be broken with enough force. He can only manipulate his sword if it is within 40 feet of him. And his sword can only move as fast as the speed of sound. And I feel like that would summarize your character's powers and weaknesses in not three sentences, two sentences actually. So that's how I would try and describe it in two sentences rather than in three, but still have all the key information from what you said. I can't post all of it because it would be 305 characters. So here's oh, wait a minute. I just typed in the wrong one. I copied in the wrong one from the amino. So ignore that post I just put. Here we go. Here's the two sentences. Ba-da-bop, ba-da-bop. Let's see. Where are we at? Matt said, and that was only after lifting the ownership clause. I do think lifting the ownership clause has definitely added interest. Shuri-chan said, yeah, no jump, you watched him too? Game Champ VG Myths? Mm-hmm, yeah, I'm a fan. Kel said, I don't think that three sentences is the worst thing in the world. I would just prefer more sentences. And that's understandable. I just feel like more sentences aren't really necessary. Shuri-chan said, do you really need 1,000 subs for a live stream? Do you? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you don't. You don't. Because I was streaming before I hit 1,000 subs. Streaming is actually how I got to 1,000 subs. Matt said, if creativity is being constricted, it will cause a lack of incentive to show interest. And my whole argument, right, is that creativity is not being restricted by who would win OC battles. You can write as much as you want about your character, but for the sake of the battles, we will only reference three sentences that describe your character's powers and weaknesses, because for the sake of the fight, that is all that is truly required to be known about your character. That and their name. It's not that crazy. Not saying all you can have is three sentences, period, and you can't write more about your character. Let your creativity run wild, write as much as you want. But your powers don't have to be, powers and weaknesses together don't have to be any more than three sentences total. You can lock it down pretty hard. Just three sentences. Let's see. Matt said, I wonder why it sounds clunky. It's like the constricting nature impacts the ability to write it. Not necessarily so. I feel like the final setup for Mat Zero, well, I say final. It's not really the final setup. It's just if I were to phrase it in two sentences, how I would phrase it in two sentences. Mat Zero can telekinetically manipulate a large greatsword and has an electric shield on his skin that shocks anyone who attacks him. His electric shield can be broken with enough force. He can only manipulate his sword if it is within 40 feet of him, and his sword can only move as fast as the speed of sound. I feel like it's pretty straightforward, and you just get the gist. You get the complete gist of what the character can do, and it doesn't take away from anything because it's you can just summarize things. It's kind of like how Wikipedia has like a short description at the top. You know what I mean? Of the Wikipedia article, but then you have the rest of the article. You know what I mean? But the top part is supposed to be shorter. You understand? It's a formatting thing. Let's see. Shuri Chan said, "Gotta go. Bye. Hope you have a wonderful night, Shuri Chan. Thank you for tuning in. Truly appreciate it." Kel said, "I think Matt's overreacting just a little bit. I do agree with him for the most part. I don't think OC battles as it is right now is the worst thing ever. I think Kel's posted in that Discord link. A. Uh, then Mala said, Mary Sue battles. So, Mala, why do you feel like who would win OC battles is Mary Sue battles? I definitely would like to hear your hot take on that. Also, it's 9:03 p.m. I gotta end the stream. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding ding ding, ring the notification bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jump Like the One Only, logging out. Peace, guys.